Hello and welcome. My name is Rick Baxter with Cost Control Software out of Indianapolis, Indiana. So glad you have interest in the new Microsoft Dynamics NAV timeline. It's a visualization of inventory. It's almost like a mini MRP. I'm going to take a few minutes here to kind of take you through how this product works and some of the advantages to it. It is really designed for clients that are doing manufacturing kind of applications. Let's get started right away. I am in a database called Manufacturing Plus from Cost Control Software, but I'm not going to focus on that today. I want to take you first into the item list. We're going to take a look at the supply and demand. Notice here on this item, we've got 30 on hand. We've got 63 on production orders. Hopefully you can see this on your screen. We've got 105 on sales orders. So my net available is minus 12. But the only thing this doesn't show me for this bicycle, by the way, is when are these sales orders and when are these production orders? There's no relevance to time. And so Microsoft has come up with this way to display the purchase orders and the production orders and the sales orders, all related to time, and it's called Timeline Visualizer, and it is interactive, and I'll show you what I mean with interactive. Let's open up the window so you can see it, and I'm going to kind of focus on this bicycle. And here's how it works. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put in part number 1000. So you can see the visualization. And let me just explain a few concepts here. First of all, notice the timeline across the bottom. So, and I've got it in a kind of a view of by month. I could, if I wanted to see a specific portion of it, I could highlight that and then I kind of zoom in on that area. So now I'm looking kind of January and February time frame. Or I could press Control 0 and it kind of takes me back to all the activity that is occurring on this item. And when I say all activity, it takes me through all the way through the various supply orders. Notice up here in the box, when I hover over one of these X's, it shows me that's a production order to make 10 more. So that's why it's kind of, you'll see there's one for 16, down here's one for 10. So the quantity is going from the 10 and it's going up and up and up over time. And then there's another one here for 16, approximately on the, it looks like about the 18th of March. There's one that's going up, and then we've got some coming down over here. Let's see what's bringing this down. It is a sales order for 25, so that's our demand. So this lets me see very visually the supply that's happening because of these production orders and the demand because of sales orders. And notice right in about here, this sales order for 20 is sending the quantity on hand negative. Okay, in fact, it goes worse than that. There's another 16 later in September, and then another 16 even later in September, about the 26th. So eventually, I'm out of stock, and that's a problem. Okay, that's that negative. Remember the negative 12 we saw? So I'm out of stock here, and I need to fix the problem. Well, because this is interactive, I can make changes here or suggested changes here and then have that adjust back into the production system for me automatically. Let's take a look at how this works. So you saw how I zoomed in on these things. I'm going to put in suggested projected inventory. I'm going to click this box, and I'm not going to teach the whole thing today. I just want to get you kind of started on this. Then where do we want to actually create the supply that's going to take care of this negative situation? Well, probably, I mean, I could create a supply here. I could just right click. I just right clicked and then say create supply order. Or I might want to wait until later in August to create that supply so that I don't run out of stock in September. So let's do that here. I'm going to go ahead and create a new supply. Puts a little green dot there. Can you see that? Hopefully you can see that on your screen. That is a new supply order. And what I can do is I just grab it, and it's a drag and drop. So I'm going to move this up a little bit. And now I've increased it. What is that? 42. So I'm kind of saying I'm going to make another 42. I could just raise it way up. And I can even change the date that I want to make it. So if I want to make it sometime in June, I've got some open availability in June. I go ahead and make that supply. And notice now, by the time all these sales orders are filled in September, then I actually have excess inventory, which I personally don't want. I really want to have it basically back to zero. I want to balance that supply and demand back to zero. So what I kind of recommend that you do with this thing is kind of figure out, well, if it doesn't take long to make the particular item, I would push that production run out until just before you kind of need them. And then also, I'm going to right click on this, and I'm going to let it auto adjust the supply. So I auto adjust the supply, and now it's basically saying, well, here's what was going to happen. Now with this supply of, what do we have here, 44. So it's suggesting that we produce 44 more of these bicycles, and then it will basically bring it back to a perfect zero on hand, which is what we want of the inventory items. Okay, so I can see it. The concept here is I can see it very graphically to make that change pretty much automatically. Now, the key is I want to carry that out. Okay, so I want to save the change. This is just simply a recommended. You'll see it down here in the event changes. You'll see that it's recommending a start date of 9/3 to make 44. On September 3rd, to actually produce the 44 so that we have plenty of inventory for our September sales that are coming up. Okay, to make that happen, here's how you do it. It's real simple. You'll love this. You simply say save changes. See the option here, save changes. So I'm going to say save changes, and the changes have been transferred to the planning worksheet. Okay, so the planning worksheet should now have a new recommended production order for 44. So let's go check that out. So I'm going to close out of that. Let's go into our worksheets. We're going to go into our planning worksheet here. And I just have the one entry, 9/3. There's the date we saw, 9/3. That's when we want to have that ready to go. And if I slide over, you'll see there is the production order for 44. Now, one little tip here is that when you first generate this from the timeline visualization, in fact, hopefully that's all on your screen. There might be some of this. Let me move this over just a little bit. There we go. Okay, so you'll see here's the 44. Here's the supply and demand. Now, what I want to do before we actually carry out and generate that production order, I like to refresh the planning line. What that's going to do is it's going to go and get the bill of materials and the router steps for this bicycle and bring it into the planning worksheet so that when I do carry out the action messages, it has all the information it needs to generate that particular production order. Okay, so let's I'm going to do that. And yeah, I'm not going to take the time to kind of go through all this. So I'm going to say, let's generate this. We'll say OK. And very quickly, it has brought in, if you want to see this, we can look at the lines. Let me just show real quick. If I look at the item, for example, the components, we'll just peek at that. So it's now brought in all the components and multiplied by 44. So that is the expected demand for the components of that bicycle. Okay, now I'm ready to go ahead and generate that production order. So we simply press carry out action messages. This is like, I almost call it visual kind of MRP process. So we're going to create a firm plan production order. We don't have to create any purchase orders. We'll go ahead and preview this. And you want to print the audit report. I don't need to, but I think I may get a copy anyway. Let's let that run. So the report's generated. So here is the kind of the audit of that production of the 44. And we'll close that. And now that line has cleared. So what that's telling me is if I go back to my home page and go into the firm plan production orders, which are right here. So I like it the way we have everything real handy right on the screen. So all of your product design, capacities, your journals, your worksheets are all instantly available to you directly from the screen. Okay, and if I go to the firm plan production orders, we should see a production order for 44. There it is, right there. So here's 44. Okay, and notice the dates was, remember, the 3rd, so the due date is the 4th because probably it's added a safety. I bet there's a safety lead time on that item of a day, and that's why it's added that day in there. So I could bring this up on the screen so you'll see this is pretty much a normal production order for the bicycle. It's brought in a particular BOM version and routing version has come in automatically. It shows me what the cost amount are expected. If there's some overhead rates, that's going to show. If I look at the statistics, well, let's just take a quick peek here. The statistics do show me the expected cost. There is no actual cost yet because I haven't produced any, and so the variance to that expected is basically the same amount. So that's the statistics on that production order before we even start work on it, but it's in the system, and from this point forward you would pretty much carry out the normal workflow within NAV, and I'm not going to go through that training here. That's available certainly in our other classes. Let's take a look though at the item card itself. In fact, I'm going to go back to that timeline, and let's now take a look for part 1000. And look, now I don't have to go to the suggested. This is basically what is going to transpire, and that little point right there, that's our production order 101003 for the bicycle for 44. This is in fact already built so that I can see what's going to happen, and look, it gets right to a perfect zero balance, which is that ideal supply and demand. So that is a quick review. I did not have time to get into the forecasting, but play with this and enjoy this product. It is available with standard within certainly cost controls. Database, we call this our Manufacturing Plus database. It's an additional feature. It is provided by Microsoft. We've incorporated it here for you and embedded it right in the day-to-day processing of the software. Hope you like what you see. And if you have any questions on that, certainly give us a call or send us an email with any questions you might have. I will put up my contact information here next. Thanks so much for looking.